The night was unusually cold in Boston, and John Kennedy found himself walking faster than usual, pulling his coat tighter around his chest. He had just finished a long day at work and wanted nothing more than to get home, pour himself a glass of wine, and forget about the endless meetings. As he turned the corner onto Tremont Street, he noticed a man huddled against the wall of a closed bookstore. His clothes were tattered, his face hidden beneath the hood, and a cardboard sign rested beside him, "Hungry, please help." John almost walked past like so many others did, but something about the man made him stop. A faint familiarity tugged at him, as if a memory from long ago was trying to break through. He took a step closer, and when the man finally lifted his face, John froze. His heart pounded, his breath caught. It was Michael O'Connor, his childhood best friend, the boy who had spent summers riding bikes with him, sneaking into ball games, sharing secrets under the oak tree behind the old schoolyard. Job hadn't seen him in nearly 20 years, but there was no mistaking those piercing blue eyes, even though now they were dulled with hardship. "Michaela Broken Bar, is that you?" John whispered. Michael blinked, stunned. For a moment, his lips trembled before he managed a weak smile. "John Broken Bar, I thought you'd forgotten all about me." The shock coursed through John like electricity. He crouched down, ignoring the curious stares of passers-by. "What happened to you? How Broken Bar, how are you here like this?" Michael chuckled bitterly, as though the answer was too long to even bother with. "Life happened, Johnny. Lost my job, then my home. My family moved away, and I didn't want to burden anyone. Been on the streets for a while now." John's chest ached. Here was the boy who had once been the brightest spark in the neighborhood, reduced to sleeping on sidewalks. "You're coming with me tonight," John said firmly. But Michael shook his head. "No, I don't want pity. I don't need your charity." "It's not charity," John replied, his voice thick with emotion. "It's friendship, and I still owe you for the time you patched me up after I fell off that treehouse. Remember?" Michael's eyes softened at the memory. For the first time, a hint of his old self flickered through. That night, John brought Michael home. He gave him a hot meal, clean clothes, and a warm bed. They talked until the early hours, reminiscing about the good old days and filling in the gaps of lost years. Michael confessed he had battled depression after losing his job and that shame had kept him from reaching out. John listened, his heart heavy with guilt for having lost touch. He promised to help Michael get back on his feet, starting with a shower, a haircut, and maybe reconnecting him with some old contacts. Michael finally fell asleep that night, perhaps for the first time in weeks, without fear of the cold or hunger. But the real shock came the next day. Job had arranged a meeting at his office, thinking he might find a small role for Michael to start rebuilding his life. As he was preparing the paperwork, his secretary rushed in. "Mr. Kennedy, there's a man outside asking for you. A Broken Bar says his name is Michael O'Connor, and he has a letter addressed to you." Confused, Job hurried out to the lobby. Michael stood there, freshly shaved and wearing donated clothes. In his hand was a weathered envelope. "I didn't tell you everything last night," Michael said softly, handing it over. John unfolded the letter, and his eyes widened. It was a handwritten note from John's late father, sealed and addressed to him. Inside, his father had written about a promise he had once made to Michael's parents that if anything ever happened to them, the Kennedys would look after their son as one of their own. John's throat tightened. His father had passed years ago, and somehow, Michael had held on to this letter all this time, never asking for help, never demanding what was promised. "I found it again while going through my old things," Michael explained, his voice breaking. "I never wanted to use it. I wanted to stand on my own. But after seeing you last night, a Broken Bar, maybe it's time." Tears blurred John's vision. "Michael, you should have shown me this years ago. You're not just my friend, you're family." From that moment on, everything changed. John used his connections to help Michael secure a job at his company. Not out of pity but because Michael had skills and potential that had been buried under hardship. Slowly, Michael regained his confidence. He found a small apartment, started painting again as something he loved as a child, and even began volunteering at shelters to help others like him. Their bond grew stronger than ever. Every weekend, They'd meet under that same old oak tree in the park, just like when they were kids. This time, though, they weren't dreaming about the future they were living it. The story of Michael's comeback spread through the neighborhood, inspiring others to see homeless people not as invisible shadows but as human beings with stories, families, and dreams. And John learned the lesson he would never forget: sometimes the greatest treasures in life are not found in wealth or success but in the friendships we choose to honor and the promises we keep. As Michael once said with a smile, "You saved me, Johnny." But John knew the truth. "No, Michaela, you reminded me what it means to be human."